Normally, Long Beach, California attracts tourists because of the world-famous Queen Mary. But this weekend, the surrounding streets are alive with the sound of high-powered race cars as an annual Rite of Spring unfolds once again. And this year even added significance. Helio Castroneves is back, greeted warmly today when he arrived at the track, including his teammate Ryan Briscoe, the winner 2 weeks ago in St. Pete. Each week, race teams work tirelessly trying to find the edge that will make them the fastest car, the one that can take the checkered flag by the slimmest of margins.
IndyCar race.
But when the world's fastest drivers converge on Long Beach, there is extra reason to find that edge. This is the 35th running of the Grand Prix, one of the most prestigious street races in the world. And for the first time, IndyCar drivers will take the green flag on these storied streets. But only one will win and add his name to the legacy of those who can be called Long Beach champions.
Left foot on the driver's side, left foot on the driver's side, yeah.
It's race weekend in Southern California. Today, knockout qualifying will determine the starting lineup for tomorrow's Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Welcome to peak hole qualifying here on Versus. One of the longest running and most prestigious street races in North America, set for the green flag at 3:30 Eastern Time tomorrow here on Versus. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins, and the sun is shining a little brighter and there are lots of smiles in the grandstand and along pit lane because of the return of Helio Castroneves after missing the season opener 2 weeks ago in St. Petersburg, Florida. Helio's trial came to an end yesterday in Miami, Florida. His sister, Katia, and he met with members of the media after the verdict was announced. He arrived in Long Beach last night, was immediately greeted by fans and members of the media when he arrived at the track. The first time he was on the track was in a pace car. Familiarized himself with this course, although he won the event here in 2001. But this was just a slow lap to get oriented toward this year's race. His first time on the racetrack came in the first practice session. In fact, he was allowed to participate in both 30-minute practice sessions due to his lack of time yesterday. Watch this close call. He cuts in front of Justin Wilson. He missed the driver's meeting yesterday, didn't know he was supposed to stay to the right of that line, and Justin Wilson almost collected him. Helio Castroneves ended up 7th overall on the speed charts today. It's the first time he'd been in a car since the season closer last year at Chicagoland Speedway. He was indicted in early October. His trial started 7 weeks ago, and the jury deliberated until they reached a verdict yesterday. And the verdict was acquittal on 6 of 7 counts. The final count, there was a hung jury and a mistrial was declared. He arrived here in LA last night and at the track at 10:25 this morning. He's standing by with our Jackaroo.
And Bob, he has not stopped smiling since he arrived here at about 7:45. Welcome home, Helio.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you, guys. I mean, first of all, I just want to thank so many fans. You know, I mean, without your prayers, without the great message, it would be so hard to go through what happens. And it kept my faith very strong, and he did not forget about me.
Tell me what your feeling was when the verdicts were announced and you knew that you had been exonerated.
To be honest, I was like just crying. You know, I'm a very emotional person, and when I'm happy, I'm crying. When I'm sad, I cry. And I just felt one of my attorneys hugging me, and just like everything is going to be okay, everything is going to be okay. And so I realized that everything was going okay. And first thing was looking to my sister because they didn't tell what the result for her. And then I hugged her. I mean, it was very emotional, very difficult. but that's it. It's gonna be in a book one day. I don't know, but now I'm just so happy to be here.
Well, and when you got in the car, it was P1 in practice with Will Power, who filled in for you, and you got it to P4 without getting on those new red tires. Can you sit on the pole here at Long Beach today?
I mean, the only thing right now, I'm just a big smile. I'm just. I just enjoy.
Let's ask them. Do you guys think that he can sit on the pole today? I think that's all you need. You feeling enough pressure now?
No, I don't feel. Actually, if they help me in this difficult time, I'm sure they can help me now. But let me tell you one thing: it's just being a dream. I mean, I just woke up from a nightmare, and I feel just like hugging everybody. You know.
Hey, Bob, the last time that Team Penske had to force a late entry into a race was 1987 with Al Unser Sr. Guess what? He went on to win his 4th Indianapolis 500.
From a nightmare to a dream come true for Elio, I'm joined by my booth mates, Jan Beekes and Robbie Buell. And Jan, how difficult will it be for Elio to get back in the groove, so to speak?
Well, first of all, it is truly a dream for him. He has come here, and you heard Jack mention it, that Will Power ran that car this weekend, and it was the fastest car at the end of practice yesterday. He has a full set of tire allotment. He's got his crew back. You can see the enthusiasm and all the people up and down pit road. I think, kind of like the team says, it's going to be for him like riding a bike. He's going to get back on and get up front. But Robbie, physically, that's a bigger task.
It is, and mentally. But drivers have a unique ability. When it's time to get in the cockpit, they can flick a switch and forget about everything that's going on and get on with your job. Elio can do that. When you talk about the physical side, you know, the one thing you can't measure in a cockpit is adrenaline and passion, and that takes over. And we just saw the passion that Elio has. And something real quick, before he went out for this practice session this morning, Tim Cindric, who's been on his headsets for the last 10 years, said to him, now don't stall the car leaving this practice session while everybody's watching.
Well, there will be 3 Team Penske cars in the race. Ryan Briscoe, who won the season opener at St. Petersburg 2 weeks ago, and Will Power will also be in the number 12 car, sponsored by Verizon. Stay with us for peak qualifying here on Versus.
IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
Welcome back to IndyCar qualifying presented by Peak here on Versus. 2 weeks ago in St. Petersburg, we saw several teams and drivers turn in their best performance ever in the IndyCar series. The word of the day was unpredictable.
The winner of St. Pete and IndyCar Series points leader, Ryan Briscoe, smile on your face, but all this attention going towards Elio, has that kind of deflected some of that attention going towards you as far as having to concentrate on all the press coverage?
I'm definitely not, seeking attention. Definitely the most exciting thing this weekend is, the return of Elio, and we're all just so excited for him, and great to see him, back in the 3-car and going fast straight off the bat. So definitely a great day for the whole team having Elio back here.
Things are going well for you. You take the win at the first race, road and street courses to start things off. You were so solid last year being in the Firestone Fast Six at all of those races. Now you're starting off again. You must love this, don't you?
It's great. I love these races, and it's great to be here in Long Beach. It's just such a beautiful place to be racing, such a huge event, so many fans out here, and a very challenging track. So certainly going to have our work cut out for us today in qualifying. It's going to be a hard one, but hopefully we can make that Fast Six once again.
Keep that streak going. Good luck. All right, now let's turn it over to my teammate, Lindy Thaxton, who's with his teammate, Will Power.
Robbie, Will Power knew all along that this could happen, and Will, the time has come. You prepare physically for a race weekend, but you also prepare mentally. Obviously, you're happy for Elio, but talk about what this does to your mindset.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult, to be honest. Everything changes. The crew changes, the engineer changes. But in this team, you know, they got such good guys. They transferred everything over onto this car. And when I went out this morning, it was all the same, just a couple of little details that we need to change. So my mindset's the same. I want to go out there and be in the fast six and go for pole.
Within hours of learning the news, you showed why you are the defending champ at the Grand Prix of Long Beach. You go out, you're fastest in practice. You go out this morning in a new car, you're running third, but it cannot be easy to get into a new machine. What do you need to do to have back-to-back solid years here?
Yeah, qualifying's important here. You really do got to start at the front. I mean, it's very tough to pass, and it's just got to be one of those days where everything goes right, good pit stops, good strategy, and make no mistakes. So that's what my plan is.
Will Power now in the number 12. Bob?
All right, thanks, Lindy. Here are the point standings reflecting the finishing order at St. Petersburg. The top 5 drivers represented 5 different teams, and 9 of the top 10 finishers were from different teams, very possibly setting the stage for what's to come this year in the series. Graham Rahal became the series' youngest pole sitter 2 weeks ago at St. Petersburg, but not so great a race. We'll talk to him when we return to peak qualifying on Versus.
It started right from the beginning.
Graham Rahal sideways in turn 1.
Come on, just punted me.
If you stop in the middle of the corner, what do you want me to do?
It's absolutely ridiculous, and you'd expect a guy like that who's got experience to know.
I have to apologize to him because I hit him from the back, but it's not that I was trying to pass him. I mean, he got passed, not me, and he had to stop.
I mean, it's the first corner of the first lap of the season. I mean, why make moves like that? It's absolutely ridiculous.
I would go apologize to him. I think we're just drivers. We're just hot after the race.
I think the result should have and could have been better.
Everybody just hit me.
And the pole sitter at St. Pete, how many times did you relive that first turn?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, you know, and it was disappointing, especially at the beginning of the race after it happened. You know, you're pretty revved up about it and pretty frustrated. But, you know, now you got to let it go and put it behind us and just look forward, to be honest, because now, you know, we go out here in Long Beach hoping to do the same thing. And hopefully we can get the pole, and then we just, you know, it's a fresh start. Then we need to go and win this one.
You've been working on several things. You were strong in practice, but your team has been very strong here in particular. In 25 attempts, they have 11 poles. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, they've always been good here. And, you know, we've got, as I said, we've got a good start to this weekend. Qualifying, obviously, is most important here because it's the type of track on a street circuit, any street circuit. It's good to start up front, and so hopefully we can get another pole and run away with this thing.
They're looking to, guys. Bob, he's been working on a few things. Look out for him in qualifying.
All right, thanks, Robbie. Well, the month of May is beginning to take shape. KV Racing Technology announcing yesterday they'll run a second car at Indy, sponsored by Geico, with Paul Tracy, the pilot. Might Max Pappas join you at the Indy 500?
I think that would really show him.
And Paul did not know that under the Geico uniform was Max Pappas, who drives for Geico in NASCAR. Paul has not been at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway since 2002. However, he did race in one IndyCar Series event last year in Edmonton, Alberta. It's going to be great to have the Canadian back.
As I was laying on the couch watching that disaster of a race at St. Pete, I felt like I could get out there and clean everybody's clock the way they were driving. So, you know, from that standpoint, it's, you know, I feel I've still got the skills to do this. You know, like I said, my last race, you can only judge somebody on their last race. And the last race I got off the couch and finished in the top 5.
Back here with Robbie and Jan now. Both of you guys know Paul Tracy very well, Robbie, because you used to race against him.
I sure do, and it will be great to have Paul back. I mean, we just heard from him. He says, hey, I could have cleaned everybody's clock out there. So you never know what you're going to get from Paul outside of the car and inside the car. He's exciting to watch.
He is, and he's very, very talented. When he is on, Robbie, he is on. He's very tough to beat, but he loves to talk the smack. Yesterday,
Yes,
somebody said, hey, are you going to run rookie orientation since you haven't been at the Speedway for a while? He says, well, I don't think if you're a former winner, you can partake. So he got everybody going with that one.
Going to be great to have him back. The 35th annual Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach can be seen on Versus at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. The Firestone Indy Lights race from here can be seen Monday at 4 o'clock, and then the re-air of the race will be at 5 o'clock on Monday. Coming up in just a moment, rounds 2 and 3 of knockout qualifying for the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, presented by Peak, here on Versus. That's very cool, isn't it? The IndyCar Series, proud to be a part on Versus, and the qualifying now presented by Peak resumes. First round has been completed and quite exciting. We'll show you the highlights of round 1 after we show you some incidents this morning, a couple of incidents and one very close call, Jan.
And the first incident was Hideki Muto, turn 9, gasses it, thinks it's just going to slide, and look at that, it hooks up, kablamo, blows the right side of the car off. Huge wreck for Muto. We saw this earlier. Castro Neves leading the pits. A super close moment with Justin Wilson, and Justin said, woo, that was tight.
It was actually Brian Barnard said in the drivers' meeting that you have to stay to the end of the line all the way down to turn 1, which is not just the blue line, but it's also the yellow and black line. And obviously Elio missed the drivers' meeting, but that was pretty close. I thought we'd hit.
Dario Franchitti pushing hard in practice, misses the braking point, knows he's in trouble. He was fastest at that point. They repaired it. He'd be ready in time for qualifying. In qualifying, it was his teammate, Scott Dixon. Loves his setup, went out on lap 12, just laid one down and set the mark for everybody to try and beat Scott Dixon. In the meantime, Danica Patrick was trying really hard to get in, but too hard. On the approach to the hairpin, just as she lifted and went for the brakes, head on into the barrier. She got back out, but did not transfer. Emil Castro Neves was pushing as hard as anyone. Look at this, both the front and the rear rubs the wall. You can see it on board. First the front, then the rear. Nice job of driving, but he does make it. The man of the day, Justin Wilson, the only driver to get under 110. Look at that, 109.9. Justin Wilson, fastest, and he's through.
And now the clock has begun on these 12 drivers. Dixon, Briscoe, Rahal, Kanan, Matos, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Wilson, Viso, Power, Castro Neves, Franchitti, and Tagliani. Not making it, Marias, Andretti, Muto, Barrett, Dornbos, Weldon, Patrick, Mira, Carpenter, Manning, and Conway. All right, here we go. Let's see who can get into the Firestone Fast Six. And right now, in the early going, it is Graham Rahal, same guy who sat on the pole at St. Petersburg 2 weeks ago.
Not wasting any time going out on the red sidewall Firestones. We saw that a little bit in St. Petersburg, that when it gets down to making the top 6, you gotta lay your mark early and get out on the reds.
Now let's remind everybody, in case you weren't with us 2 weeks ago, about this red and black wall situation on the Firestone Firehawks.
Well, the red tires, they're a little bit quicker tire. It's a little softer compound. And even more so than St. Pete is the primary tire to this alternate tire, which is the red tire. There's a little bigger gap. Now, the alternate tire is the same as they had in St. Pete, but the primary tire, the black tire, is a little bit harder. So we're going to have a bigger spread. And I think as we get to the last 20 laps of this race, that's going to make a much bigger difference.
But of course, the key when you start talking about qualifying, you are not going to qualify and transfer to the next group without using these. So if you use them early, get a read. Right, Jack?
Yeah, Dion, it's actually kind of interesting right now. Some teams have elected to use their second set of red tires that are available today. Remember, the third set, they're not issued it until tomorrow. But guys like Elio Castro Neves and Tim Cindric, what they did is they put 5 laps on the reds. Everybody used reds in the first round. They put 5 laps. They did it at the end. They've gone back out. They seem to think that if they can save these reds to the regular, what I call the sticker reds to the Fast Six, that could be the key. They're trying to get 3 of their cars in, and they got guys like the guy we're looking at, EJ Viso. They're saying, we don't care about having a set at the end. We just want to be in the Firestone Fast Six. Where did they get the information? From, of all people, Will Power, who in that first session had gone out and then came back in, and they said the reds didn't drop off, so Castro Neves elected to try it in this session that way.
Very interesting. And, you know, you look at Viso right there, is when I talked to him yesterday, he was very confident, very cool, very collective. You know, said he had trusted his engineers totally to give him that proper compromise between downforce and grip at this racetrack, and he's delivering.
And the reason he trusts his engineers, it's Michael Cannon, and he's been around a long time, and there's really few better than Michael Cannon and his assistant Robert Ridgely when it comes to setting it up for Long Beach.
On board with Helio Castroneves, the clock is in the upper right part of your screen. You're showing just a little more than 12 minutes in this 15-minute session to determine the Firestone Fast 6. This is round 2 of knockout qualifying. Round 3 coming up after this.
And we're still on board with Helio. You can see he's on the red tires just by looking at the inside reams, coming right in here to the hairpin. Now, what's a key to this racetrack is right now, put the power down, go full throttle, and he just crossed the start-finish line. Even though he came in the pit, that still trips for a timeline in qualifying.
Right. Of course, the start-finish line in the middle of the straightaway will be used for the race, but the timing line is down outside of turn number 11. And at the beginning of this second round, a little rub there on the tires by Helio.
Exact same spot that we saw him do in the previous round, so he's kind of adding his signature more than once there, Jack.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things the team was very concerned about was that left front area. They checked all the suspension when they went from round 1 to round 2. Now, Helio has reported that the used reds, what I call the scuff reds that he had 5 laps on, they exacerbated, how about that for a word, exacerbated the slipping and sliding. So they're going to use their second and last set of reds here in round number 2 to try and get Helio in. Now remember, he's down in P9. He's got to get up to P6. So, hey, don't save them, use them.
And when you're talking about saving them and using them, we should talk about using the road. The place where he's rubbed there a couple times, Robbie, as you know, it's off camber. This is a street circuit that truly has the crown in the road that you don't see a lot of other places.
And right there, where you're talking about that turn 9, yeah, you have that camber that falls away as you come onto that straightaway, but you also have a big patch right in the middle of the apex that's got a whole different grip level. And here we're looking on board at Briscoe, see what he's got. He's got the red tires on as well right now.
He's currently 5th in the lineup. BJ Viso is quickest right now. Will Power 2nd, then Wilson, Rahal, Briscoe, and Franchitti as Matos, Hunter Ray, Castroneves, Tagliani, Dixon, and Kanaan are not yet in the top 6.
You know, as we're looking here at Briscoe, I think the energy that he has and the relationship that he's really growing with his engineer, Eric Cowden. They've had 2 races together, Australia last year, St. Pete. They won both of them. Eric Cowden comes from being Tony Kanaan's longtime engineer, so a ton of experience. And these guys are just going to get better and better as a cohesive group and trusting each other. That's just going to give Ryan that extra little edge out on the racetrack. Now that I've said that, let's see what he lays down here in the last 6 minutes of qualifying.
We saw the 35-mile-an-hour sign for the passenger cars. What's their top speed at the end of the front stretch before braking for 1?
The top speed is about 167 miles an hour, give or take a little bit. Now, if you're running up on somebody, you got a little bit of a draft, maybe a little bit more. So it's very crucial how you gear the car to have that run. Because if you gear it too short, you get up on the rev limiter, then you can't finish it.
Ryan Briscoe to the inside of EJ Viso, but Viso still remains the fastest here in this second round of knockout qualifying from the streets of Long Beach, California. Down the backstretch here, entering turn number 9.
One of the trickiest spots to get the car slowed down and turned, because you're fighting the crown and the bumps, and then the sealer that's right in this section. Anytime you see a track that's shiny, usually that means it's slick, and it's really slick on the approach to the hairpin.
No change that lap. Briscoe remains 5th quick. We have a little bit more than 5 minutes to go. Roger Penske looks on. He has entered 3 cars for this event because Helio Castroneves is back. We'll be back on Versus. There is nothing like Stanley Cup playoffs. Every second counts tonight at 8 o'clock. It's another chapter in one of the best rivalries on ice when the top-seeded Bruins host the Canadiens. In Game 2, Bruins hoping to win again and make a second win. tonight on Versus at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And, of course, throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, Robbie Buell will be watching his beloved Red Wings in their battle with the Columbus Blue Jackets, right?
You bet that right.
On board with Elio Castroneves. 3 minutes and 20 seconds remain in this second round of knockout qualifying. And currently, let's see where... Oh, Castroneves is way down in 11th.
That's why it took you a while to find him. We're not used to seeing him down there, but he has an opportunity to get one going here.
Jack Arute.
Part of the challenge that Elio Castroneves is facing right now is finding a location out on the racetrack where he can have clear sailing in front of him. And right now they've just put the whip. Tim Cindric talking to his driver and saying he's got to find the space and put the time in. They're on the outside looking in right now.
And that's absolutely the case. There's 2.5 minutes left. Right now, these guys need one clean lap. Can't have any mistakes. Just put it all together. And as a race driver, the challenge is always to do that perfect lap. I'm not sure you ever do that perfect lap, as you just see Elio really working it. That's where we've seen him kiss the wall there twice already. You just keep talking yourself around this racetrack. You need one good lap.
And he needs the next one. This lap is not necessarily going to be the one for him. He wants to get into a rhythm, and he's starting to catch it. Looks like E.J. Viso ahead of him, who obviously he'll be quick. And we have a full course caution, judging by, it's still a local. And we have someone,
it's Ryan Briscoe.
Teammate.
Briscoe has made the previous 7 Fast 6 sessions in a row, all 6 in 2008 plus St. Pete.
And not looking good for him right now because he's in P8.
Yep. Down to Lindy.
Here's what we know at this point. Just a few minutes ago, Briscoe said the car feels different for some reason, Roger. And Roger Penske said, Ryan, just do your best right now. That's all you can do. Just do your best. Obviously, we saw what happened. I'll keep you posted what we find out.
Trying to get Ryan headed in the right direction again. Meanwhile, let's go on board with Justin Wilson. And Justin just went to P1, knocking Viso off the top spot.
But the spots we really want to watch here is 6th. When you look at 5th, 6th, 7th, and someone like Castroneves looking on the outside. So when you're someone like Justin Wilson, you're feeling good right now. You're looking at those times saying, okay, I'm safe. I need to repeat this and get into the top 6. But those that are hovering around the 6th spot are super nervous right now.
And you would think his owner, Dale Coyne's telling him that to say, hey, you're good right now. So just, we're through to the top 6. Just do what you got to do. Learn something. But let's be assured we're good where we're at.
Look at the clock in the upper right. We're under now 30 seconds to go. Dale Coyne, the owner of Justin Wilson's car, looks on. Great performance at St. Petersburg for Justin Wilson, giving this team and driver new hope for the 2009 series. And Elio has had contact. Wow. Local yellow only in that particular portion of the racetrack, and Roger Penske has problems now with Ryan and with Elio. Take a look at what happened to Elio Castroneves. This is in turn 1.
Oh,
wow.
Missed the tires. That's...
Here we are on board with him going into turn 1. Here's the brakes, downshifting. Yeah. And just the rear of the car was coming out as he's braking and carrying the brakes. And Jack?
Robbie, remember we talked about the fact that Tim Cindric put the whip to his driver who had not sat in the cockpit in the last 6 months until this morning. He told him just as he came across the start-finish line, on that lap, you need to drop it by 0.2 of a second. Elio Castroneves tried, and he failed.
Well, the 11 car is still on track. Tony Kanaan trying to get in. You'll notice he's carrying a little bit different color scheme on that car with Dr. Pepper on the side pods. And Jan says that he's not going to make it, as he will now come into the pit area and will not be among those going into the Firestone Fast 6.
Look at this list. Graham Rahal didn't make it. Castroneves didn't make it. Tagliani, Ryan Briscoe, Tony Kanaan, and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Wow.
How about that?
But look who's in third. Rafael Matos.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about him. Bam, he's third spot.
Franchitti, Wilson, Matos, Visa, Dixon, and Power. will advance to Firestone Fast 6. They go to work on Dario Franchitti's car. We will be back with the final round of qualifying in Long Beach on Versus. Peak qualifying at Long Beach. Here's Elio, last session.
Pretty good hit going into turn one. You know, now's the time in qualifying. He had to lay down a lap. Watch the speed as he comes into our screen, as he comes across there. Very fast.
And he was just told on the radio as he went by start-finish line that he needed 0.2 of a second, so he's pushing super hard. And on the approach, he brakes later than he has done before. Right at this point, he knows he's in trouble. Look, he gets his hands off the wheel, and an impact, it knocks the steering wheel right off the column.
That is really cool. All right. Briscoe did not make it. Here are the ones who did make the Firestone Fast 6. Will Power puts the only Penske car in the top 6. Scott Dixon, the defending series champion. E.J. Viso in the Fast 6 for the first time in his career, and so is Rafa Matos. Justin Wilson also makes it in. It'll be Wilson's 7th appearance, and Dario Franchitti will be in his 11th Firestone Fast 6. Down to Lindy Thaxton.
Justin Wilson sitting P1. His crew says a shock change and sticker reds put him there at the end of the last session. Justin Wilson, pole sitter at last year's Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, or Grand Prix of Long Beach, says, just watch, I'm going to do all I can to start there again. By the way, he is going out on used reds. Robbie?
All is well for Will Power. I know it's a new car. The Verizon Penske machine just took off just a moment ago. Do you ever have that feeling that they're holding back just a little bit? They spend a lot of time in the pits. They have a fresh set of reds, only have about 3 light laps on them. I think they're holding back, guys. No matter where they sit now, look for them in that #1 spot, guys.
And this car that Will Power is driving wasn't brought out of the hauler until late last afternoon, or after the session ended, the practice session ended.
When you have a team like Penske, you know, and your Will Power saying, oh, I got to switch to another car, you know, I don't think that kept him up too much. He had enough confidence, and we heard him say there was enough confidence that they could give him the same product that he got out of that #3 machine that he nicely turned over to Elio.
But as you know, every chassis, even if you put it on the flat pad and you get all the data exactly the same, every chassis has a little different feel, has a little different feedback to the driver. And Will had said earlier, well, there are a couple little things we needed to work on, but I'm comfortable. And now, isn't it so interesting that he came in and paved the way for Castro Neves, and he's the only one left of the 2 main drivers, and he certainly is a fantastic qualifier on street circuits and has a super shot at the pole. I agree with, I'm not sure if he's going to do it, but I know Robbie Floyd's pulling hard for his man.
Yesterday afternoon, when Tim Cindric announced that Elio would be here, he also said that Will Power at this moment will not be in a Penske car at Kansas. He will be at Indianapolis, but a week from this weekend, he may not be with Team Penske at Kansas.
Yeah, so you put all that together, what do you think he's processing his head? He's the only Penske guy right now that's in the top 6. You know, we know he can lay down a lap. I mean, he was on the pole here, you know, or he won this race a year ago. We know he has the speed, but he knows all he has is the Indy 500 with this team. The rest of the year could be open for him. So, I mean, you just want to talk about emotions.
What about it, Jackson?
I had the opportunity to talk to Will Power about that exact subject, guys, and one of the things he said, look, what I've learned and what I have to do is try and live in the moment. He said, I want to back up my win in the last Champ Car event at Long Beach, and I want to do it here for Roger Penske. And I asked him a little bit about the car that he's driving, that Verizon Wireless #12. It's an ex-Ryan Briscoe car. So he said, we just took the setup, put it over there. He said, in the first practice session, we wanted to try a couple things. What I found interesting is when he was working his way through round 1 and round 2, they did some experimentation on how many laps to put on the reds. Wouldn't surprise me if they've got a trick up their sleeves with, in his case, like everybody else's case, a set of scuffed reds in this Firestone Fast 6.
And Jack, the trick that I believe they're pulling, and you can see that he slowed down on the approach to the hairpin, and now he is on it. I think what they've learned is you don't want to bring the reds up to speed too quickly. And fact, they went out and just took the shine off one of them earlier, checked the pressures, and then sent him back out. So this lap is an anger. He's on it, but they took a while to get up to speed.
Dario Franchitti is the fastest so far in the 10 Target Chip Ganassi car. The clock up at the top of your right screen indicating 7 minutes and 30 seconds. This is a 10-minute session in this Firestone Fast 6.
And I think a real strength for Dario Franchitti and Team Target Ganassi right now is the ability of having both Dixon and Franchitti out there. But these guys have really been pushing each other and overlaying laps. And, you know, talking with Mike Hull, the team manager, he says it's really been a good challenge of these two guys pushing each other because they're both fast. So the overlays work really well with them just picking stuff out to make them that much better.
And did you see the way how much rolling speed he had in turn number 1? He looked like he was even quicker than Castro Neves, who did that and hit the wall. I mean, he got his foot off the brake. That's one thing Dario does. He doesn't necessarily carry a lot of brake into the corners. He's good about getting off the pedal.
And another part of that rolling speed that you're talking about, Jan, it comes to managing the tires. You have to, when you see these guys on the red sidewalls, the faster tire, there's about a 3-lap window that it's a really happy tire. So the driver has to manage that and know when the optimum time is for that tire to roll that momentum.
Franchitti back to P1, Power second, Wilson, Dixon, Viso, and Matos at the moment. Although Rafa has not been out. Now he is right now. He's got just a little more than 6 minutes to go.
We will see faster times than we've seen. You want to get a lap in, which sometimes you call an insurance lap, just in case it were to go red. But we're going to see some faster times because we've seen 109s the last couple times.
And just as you were talking about that insurance lap, Will Power had that. He just went to the top of the charts with a minute 10.1.
Quite a story for Will Power. He was fast yesterday, but in the car that Elio is driving today. This car did not see track activity until this morning, and so far he is fastest of all. Rafa Matos, here's quite a story. Robbie, you and I have been doing the Firestone Indy Light Series for the past couple of years, and we knew this kid was quite a talent, and he is certainly showing it today.
You're right, and Rafa is fantastic. The one thing they've been working on is putting the power down with that race car. Robbie, you got more?
Yeah, he's actually ran out of his reds, guys, and he was just making tire pressure adjustments, so I'm sure he's trying to lower the pressure a little bit. One thing when I was doing my stand-up just a moment ago when I was in the Verizon pit, the guys behind me heard and said it's kind of like a father versus son deal. You know, Jay Piskey, the team owner of the Lusso Dragon team with Rafa Matos, and then you have Will Power down on the other end. So they actually brought that up to me, so they're thinking about it.
And one of the interesting things, Robbie, is in St. Petersburg in qualifying, Will Power held up Rafa Matos, and now Rafa Matos is ahead of Will Power. So they were talking about father-son, hey, we owe you one. At the moment, you know, Rafael's not quite up to speed as Will Power was, because you really, again, you want to take a few laps to get these things worked up to the sweet spot, and he still has another lap before we'll see some big numbers from Rafael.
Up to turn number 4.
As we're riding on board there with Rafa, as we were talking about that, and Will Power driving for Penske, he has now turned the fastest lap of anybody all weekend. 9.7? Oh, no.
9.7, Will Power.
Matos onto the backstretch. Yeah, he let off of it there.
Well, what he did is, one of the things is they, with only 6 cars on the racetrack, you don't want to have anybody near you. And so they have computer programs on pit road that take each of the timing lines, and it gives you a track map, and they can find their gaps, which should be fairly easy. Justin Wilson, you can see from his view, has got nobody in the ballpark, and that's what you want when you lay down a fast one.
He's currently 5th. Lindy.
Justin Wilson, you saw him go out on those used reds. He says the rear's going off too much. He came in, they put him in sticker blacks. He's back out now.
sticker blacks, maybe not a horrible thing. Let's just think back to what happened at St. Pete 2 weeks ago. Remember when we saw Graham put those on? Bam, he popped in a lap, and we didn't expect it. So don't count Justin out on these black sidewalls right now.
Yeah, we should say Lindy's picked up the lingo pretty quick. Sticker blacks mean that they're brand new, never been run. And when you have tires with stickers, they have a little more edge to them. You can get one little better heat cycle out of them the first time they run. But Robbie, you said earlier, in St. Petersburg, they ran street course for the Firestone numbers. They call it street course 2 and 3. Here you have street course 1 and 3. So you have a situation where these blacks are one more step, as you mentioned earlier, not as quick as the reds.
Exactly. And part of the thought process with Firestone having that tire be a little harder, I think this course as a whole is just a little bit more abrasive than what we had at St. Pete in terms of just all the different type of tarmacs that are out here.
4 of the drivers in the Firestone Fast 6 have never won a pole, including this guy, EJ Viso, and it's his first time, in fact, in the Final 6.
He has a lap going at the moment that's going to keep him, assuming no one else improves, in his 3rd spot. So he's going to have to find a bit more. I mean, they'll be thrilled if he can keep it in the top 3. Nice job for EJ Viso so far.
Coming up on a minute and a half to go in this final qualifying knockout session. Off of corner number 11.
And he did. He improved just a little bit. Like you said, Jan, he stayed in his same position, but he was a little bit quicker there. Just give him a little bit of padding. Good run.
Dario. Well, nice of Dario.
Yeah.
He saw he was on a hot one. He laid back.
Yeah, but now what Dario wants to do is just take his time on this first lap, give himself that gap that you talked about, Jan, just so he's not going to get held up anywhere around here.
Franchitti is second quick behind Will Power with less than a minute to go.
And he won't do anything, and this is his out lap. So he's got to try and build some pressure and some temperature, and he's cutting it pretty close.
Franchitti has won 2 pole positions on street and road courses in the IndyCar Series. So is Scott Dixon, with Dixon right now is 6th fastest.
And you just saw Franchitti moving back and forth, just what Jan said. He needed to get some temperature in those tires, because when he trips the line this time by, he's going to have one shot. Yep. He may get one more after that, but I don't think so. He's going to have one lap that he's got to get it done to bump Will Power out the top spot.
Yeah, this is it. There is
the line right there.
15 seconds to go. This is for the money right here.
So that's calling it close. Dario tripped that line with 15 seconds to spare, but you know that's the game.
That's right.
And Will Power.
Will Power's off course.
There is a way to cut through and re-enter in turn number 5, but Dario's thinking, hey, that's nice. I need a clear track, and now I have it really clear.
Checkered flag is out.
As they don't sit him out, he's coming up to turn 5 where Will Power will be coming out. And nicely done. Right now, Dario Franchitti doesn't have enough, but he's really close, and he will know that on his steering wheel. There will be a number, his data point on the steering wheel that'll tell him how much he needs, and I think he needs a couple of tenths still. That's going to be hard to get 2 tenths in these last couple corners, but if anybody can do it, Dario can.
Turn 9 right now. Setting up for the hairpin. Now he's thinking power down, get out of there.
He didn't do it. Will Power will be the fastest and the pole sitter for tomorrow's race on Versus.
IndyCar qualifying on Versus is presented by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
We have had 2 qualifying sessions in 2009 and 2 first-time pole winners. Will Power becomes the 32nd pole winner in IndyCar Series history. For the Peak Pole Award winner, here is Lindy Thaxton.
Will Power, here he is. And Will, you told me before this started that starting position at this track is very important. Obviously, you're good here. Why is that so important here?
Yeah, it's tough to pass, and you know, it all depends on where the yellows fall. But in past years, previous years, it's always been the guy who's starting up the front that wins the race. So it just makes it easier no matter which track, but this one especially.
We also talked beforehand just about your mindset going into this, and clearly, I mean, you're focused right on this.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do, you know. There's a lot of factors that we're going to play into it this weekend, a lot of uncertainty, and I've just kept my head and kept my head down because, you know, I want to have a long career in this series, so I'm going to do my absolute best.
Will Power, congratulations.
Thank you.
Lindy, sometimes you can press the button just a little bit too hard, and that was the case for Helio Castroneves. Tim Cindric told him he needed a couple of more tenths on the last lap, and then kapow.
Yeah, kapow, big time. Sorry, guys, especially for my crew here. I mean, they've been doing a hell of a job. Especially last year, we didn't have any problem at all. But to be honest,
let's take a look. I can show you the crash right here. You go down in the corner.
It locked the rear a little bit, and then I was long for the ride there. I was just trying to. You know, hopefully it's not gonna hit that hard, but if you see, it was dead, like no tires, nothing. It was really, really hard on the head. If you see, my head probably is gonna go forward a little bit, which is what you're not supposed to do. And then when you hit it, believe it or not, guys, that hurts.
Well, you knocked the steering wheel right off.
Yeah, it was surprising. It felt like an oval hit, but the good news is. We are I don't even know where we finish hopefully in the top 10. But the point is, these guys are amazing. They're gonna put it back. They're already putting like power to see if we get extra power.
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to break the news to you, but they got Will Power's head restraint in there.
What a guy, man. He's being incredible. Great job for him. Jumping in one car now, showing that Team Penske had 3 equal cars, and doesn't matter where he jumped, he feel very comfortable. So well done, Team Penske again. Now let's fix this baby here. This is number 3, and we have a long race tomorrow.
And it'll all be on Versus. Thanks, Helio.
Hey, thank you.
Looks like they got a lot of work to do on that car yet.
They do. They'll make sure that compression, you never know. Sometimes you can break things on the front of the car, even when you hit at the rear.
Well, Will Power wins the pole for this year's race. He, of course, is the defending champion of the race when it was a Champ Car event last year. But Helio Castroneves is still the object of a lot of media attention. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next is going to be Sports Soup. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach live on Versus at 3:30 Eastern Time. For more information on IndyCar, go to Versus.com. Congratulations to our peak pole winner, Will Power. For Robbie Buell, Jan Beekes, Jack Arute, Robbie Floyd, and Lindy Thaxton, I'm Bob Jenkins. See you tomorrow at 3:30 on Versus.